What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Creating Wealth Podcast, where I, Kyle, from Kyle Curtin Real Estate, interview local top dogs in the real estate investing, wealth building, and personal finance industries. Let's build together. What's up, guys? Welcome to part 2 of Matt Davis's incredible real estate story so far. Matt has jumped into real estate with both feet on his first deal into a really cool commercial property. In this episode, we delve deep into systematizing the heck out of your business to be able to focus on more important aspects, getting over that first initial fear for doing something new, a brilliant personal finance concept, and much, much more. This was a very fun episode, and I hope you enjoy. Let's jump right into the episode. Exactly. You know, like you mentioned earlier with the self-limiting beliefs, like it's really easy to kind of slip into one of those mindsets of like, oh, like this is like way too big for me. Like I'm not ready for this. And, it's um, as long as you're, going to the right people and stuff. And like you said, I wanted to make this point earlier, but I forgot, like when we were talking about, like it's all in who you know, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's 10 times easier now to be able to like conquer that and meet those people. Literally, man, like everybody's on our phone, for Christ's sake. Like, like Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Biggerpockets, like that's all free. Pints of Properties is free, guys. You got to come on down.
Yeah, who you know is very true, but there's two ways to look at it, and it's the the one person with the positive mindset who's going to do okay, and the person who has the wrong mindset, and the person with the right mindset is going to be thinking, yeah, it is who you know, but there's so many people out there I can go meet. There's so many people out there doing awesome things, and they'll talk to me and they'll go over stuff, and it's a great world of great people.
Yeah.
And I've heard other people say to me before, like, oh yeah, everyone who does well, and you got to like know the governor, and he's got to like give you inside information about where the next train station is going to go. And then if you know that, then you buy up all the real estate in the area and you get rich. And I'm like, maybe that's happened before, but come on, you really think that's what you have to do to be one of the millions of Americans who've done extremely well investing in whether it be rental property or gas stations or whatever, small businesses.
And that's it, man, too. Like, it's not even in real estate. Like, it can be in like, like restaurants or like, like all kinds of different asset classes.
There was a period where before I got into real estate, I was seriously thinking about opening up a Five Guys franchise because I was in high school. I worked at a Five Guys. And one time in the year that I worked there, I saw the owner pull up in his Bentley or whatever, walk in. The general manager was like, oh crap, guys, that's the owner. Everybody clean up. And he walked around the building, got back in his car and left.
Yeah.
And it was like this big thing. And we're like, really? And I was like, how do I be that guy?
Yeah.
How do I be that guy? And, all he had to do was, it takes a lot of money to open up a big franchise like that, I believe. But that's just one example of, owning a cash flowing business. Or, I have the most respect for people who own gas stations, people who own franchises, people who own real estate, people who own, all different sorts of businesses that are cash flow businesses where you can hire the guy who runs it, and all you have to do is oversee it, and you can systematize it to a point where it runs with very little input directly from you.
Yep.
And if you can achieve that, then you can go off and do another one and another one, and maybe experiment elsewhere. Experiment with a company that makes coffee, or a company that sells burgers, or whatever it is that interests you or that you think might be a good opportunity.
Yep. So, I know that I can't wait to get to that point eventually, man. Like just to be able to like, have all those systems in place, for all those buildings, and like just be able to be super creative and have fun and be like, let's jump around to something else once in a while, like let's jump into the franchise world, meet some people there, see what this is all about. That's really cool. Or, like, I don't know, like just a completely different animal, and like, I feel like I look at things very like in systems, basically. So I don't know. Have you read the E-Myth?
I've heard of it. I want to read it because everything I've
Dude.
listened to enough podcasts where I could probably read the book without reading it, but
Yeah.
I want to read it. But go ahead. What were you going to say about it? Because it sounds like gold. Like it's the next one I got to go order on
Yeah,
Amazon.
it's literally like what you just said a second ago about, having all the systems in place. Like, in my opinion, this is 110% the book for that. Like, this book completely changed my life,
Okay.
and like overall mindset, like big bang type of stuff. Like, oh my God. Um, and it talks about, like the McDonald's franchise prototype model, and basically like, how come there's a McDonald's on like every friggin' street corner in the world? You know what I mean? Like, what's going on here?
Yeah, you seen that movie, the Founder or whatever?
Yeah, I love that
Yeah,
movie. Yep.
that movie's awesome. Like that movie and that kind of movie, it just connects with the way I think, and I'm
Yeah,
sure the way you think.
right.
And you watch it, you're like, you
You get
get to
all
the end of the
pumped up. You're like,
movie, and
let's
you're like, I'm
go.
gonna run the world someday. Let's go. Yeah.
But yeah, it's nuts, man. Like just having all the systems in place,
Mhm.
and just to be able to make your business be able to run as efficiently as you can off of, shift the what's the word? Um, I guess shift like what it's focused on, like more onto the systems than like the individual. I worded that kind of
Yeah.
weird, but like basically have the directions be like so good, that you get the result that you really desire like most of the
Yeah.
time, and then be able
Basically,
to
so
just
you could program a computer to do all the things that you're doing.
exactly.
To that point, um, I'll give you an example where I could and should do this in my business right now, and I've started a little bit.
Yep.
But that is, if looking at and evaluating a rental application for a tenant. Like there's a way I'm doing it in my head. I
Yeah.
could put it on paper. I started to put it on paper. I haven't finished it. That's my own problem. I should get on myself. Now that I said it here, in 3 days I'm gonna have it. Uh, but
It's tough,
I
man.
get this application in my email and I start going through like all the things that I normally look at. And I'm like, why don't I just write this down, hand it to my leasing agent, and say, you can approve the applicant yourself now.
Yeah.
Find me this person. So yeah, but there's all different areas where you can do that kind of thing. That was just one example.
100%, man. And then like just to be able to like free up that time, and just be like implement that system to free up your time, to be able to jump onto that next thing, and be able to like just keep delegating out, and then be like, like you said earlier, just kind of watching things over, like making sure everything's going all right, and then be able to have that you know those opportunities to jump to different projects or bigger and better things, or like just to kind of keep delegating and systematizing to keep growing. It's so fascinating to think about.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's exciting to kind of think about all the things that you could do and all the places you could go, and it's so important to identify which one of those put your energy into now,
Yep.
and then chase after it and take the first steps towards that. And I think of ideas all the time. Oh, I should be doing this in my business. I should be doing that, and I can't. I don't have time to do all of them.
Exactly.
But but what you have to do is identify which one of those is the biggest help right now, and will help me get to the goals that I do have in my head about where I want to be and what I want to do and where I want to get and what I want to fix and whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
It-
Picking
it's
which one of those are, chasing them one after another, and as you do them, systematize them and find a way to do it, figure it out, and then make it happen again and again on its own or with very little direct input from you. So
yeah, I totally feel you there, man. Like I think of like way too much stuff going on in my head, when it comes to business, and like, jumping around, like trying to do all these different things, like, oh, we have to do this and this and this. And it's tough to just kind of focus on, what are those major things, like trying
yeah,
to write everything down so you don't forget. And like, you have a notes page in like your notes app or whatever that's like wicked long, and like you'll never get to the stuff on the
yeah,
bottom. And
yeah,
it's definitely definitely something that is hard to kind of figure out, how to like, just stick to that like just the main course, what's going to serve that, like that primary aim, that focus, and just kind of put everything else like on the back burner for now, just to like really hit home with it. And it is definitely pretty tough,
Yeah.
but
It's all
it's part
easier
of the
said
fun.
than done.
Yeah.
Everything we've talked about today so far is easier said than done.
See, but
like,
also, oh,
yeah.
sorry.
No, go ahead. Go
All
ahead.
right. See, but also though, like I feel like it's a lot easier, like if you love it, like it's a lot more fun to like learn the
So true.
process, and like you don't look at it like as bad as it might be, like just a mindset thing
Because
too,
it's not bad.
Exactly.
It may be a lot of work. It may be something that you have to do.
Yep.
At the end of the day, if if you're like me, the rush that you get once you've done it or accomplished it, it's
It's
all worth it.
huge.
And even
Yep.
a lot of people will say, you know, you got to focus on the journey, not the destination, right? And you gotta, appreciate and love all the things you're doing to get there. Because if the whole time all you're thinking about is, you know, while you're building a business, I want to be rich someday, you're gonna get burnt out, and you're never gonna be
Yeah.
successful anyway.
Yep.
That's why very few of us wake up every day thinking. Very few successful people wake up every day as they're getting started thinking about the yacht that they're going to have someday.
Exactly.
Like, it's not a good way to approach it.
Operate.
And
Yeah.
yeah, maybe that is for some people, their end goal is they want to just have that stupid kind of money.
Yeah.
But still, they're not thinking about it as they're
Exactly.
building their business.
Yep.
They're thinking about all the things that they want to do or can do or should do or whatever their strategy is in order to get to where they want to go.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, man.
Yeah.
It really is crazy, like it is.
Yeah. No, you're right. It's crazy. We were talking about systems a minute ago, and you see so many of the like successful things that people do in their life, whether it be health and fitness or just feeling good throughout the day, having good energy. Like, for example, I've never read this book, but I've heard a bunch of people talk about Miracle Morning.
Yep.
That's basically like systematizing your morning.
Yeah.
Like, that's basically all it is. Now you're
Exactly.
waking up every day and you're not deciding in bed when you're going to get out of bed.
Yeah.
You're not, deciding as you go through things what you're going to do and constantly thinking about what am I going to do now? Because now you're thinking about the wrong thing all day and you're not, okay, I don't even have to think about what I'm doing. I know, every morning I get up and, whatever these crazy people are doing, take ice baths, but what
Yeah.
your routine is. You do it, you get it done, and while
Yep.
you're doing it, because you don't have to think about what you're doing, you're thinking about something important. And so
Yeah.
this person sitting in their ice bath, and unless they're also meditating in the ice bath, they're thinking about the next issue at work that or with their business or whatever that they got to work on solving.
Yeah.
So it frees up so much, and that's just one example. I mean, you read any good book on health and fitness ever written, I'm sure, is describing a system that someone figured out while they became healthy and fit,
Yeah.
and these are people sharing their system. And the E-Myth is someone created a system to make systems. I'm sure I haven't read the book again,
Pretty
but
much.
it seems like someone made a system to make systems and now he's sharing it with people.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't have to be a written procedure on paper, system number 47, but
Yeah.
in a business it might actually be that, but who knows. But
It really does change things though, I mean, like you said, like what was it? I just totally forgot. um yeah, never mind. I forget what I was just talking about.
no, all good. It's just the systematizing the stuff that you do is important, but it's also sticking to it, right?
Yeah.
Sticking to your system.
Oh,
and,
that's what it was.
and like, okay, go ahead.
Oh,
While
sorry.
you still have the thought,
No,
go
sorry.
for it.
I forget which book it was, but
Yeah.
in this book there was like this little like, graph kind of thing that they drew in it. And it was, doing like those tasks and like systematizing like your morning, like the miracle morning. And, you have to do that for a certain amount of time. And then like I forget what it was. It was like, I think it was like the effort went down like as time went along, but like your result like was the same or something. Cause like
Yeah.
it just became habit.
Yeah.
I mean, like people talk all the time, about like how long it actually takes to make a habit. Like some
Yeah.
people say it's like 2 weeks. This book said it was like 66 days, but whatever. Anyways, you know, like like you said, like it might actually take, a lot of thought right off the bat to kind of be doing those tasks and, organizing your morning and like you actually have to think about things. But as time goes on, that's going to just start to be second nature, and your
Yeah.
mind's going to get freed up to, like you said, already start worrying about that first thing or like, what the next thing is. And you're still getting the same results as you were on day one,
Yeah.
just that habit.
Yeah. Like for me, it was, these meetups, right?
Yep.
That I go to now. The first one for 4 months before I went to the first one, I spent thinking about how I should be going to meetups.
Yeah.
That was way more work than now. I never miss them.
Right.
Uh, and I never even think about it. It's just like, oh, there's that text notification on my phone. The meetup's this Thursday.
Yep.
That's what I'm doing. Like it doesn't even, it's no effort other than
Yeah.
the 10 minutes it takes to drive there. That's the only effort. So, but and that's just one example, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, man. It just starts to be second nature. It just everything gets a lot easier. And, I feel like honestly, like I'm starting to kind of establish a mentality where like doing something for the first time, like can be harder than going from like the first time to the fifth. I don't know. Like it's just something that pops in my head once in a while, but like going from 0 to 1 like might be like wicked hard, whether it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's like super generally speaking, but like it's something that's been bouncing around in my head. Whether it's like going from that, no properties to that first property and then going from 1 to 5 could be like half the amount of effort, and like, thoughts going on in your head than like 0 to 1. I don't know. I'd kind of like to hear your opinion on that. Like I can't really like word it that well.
You mean like going from all the things that you're thinking about that you want to do or should do or have to do or whatever,
Yeah.
and kind of picking which one to focus on and
Yeah.
do next, and then actually committing to it and making it happen.
Yeah.
Is
So
that kind
like
of what you're getting at?
pretty much. So, going to like that first meetup
Yeah.
versus, going to like 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 20, it just like that first initial meeting or meetup. Like I remember my first meetup, like I would see them on like the meetup app or whatever. And I was like, oh, that'll be kind of cool. But like I was super scared to go. I was like, oh, like
Yeah.
I don't know, like, am I gonna be the guy,
I was so nervous walking into the first one. I know
exactly.
exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Exactly. It's a completely normal thing, and it took me a while before I was like, you know what? F this. I'm doing it. Like, let's have some fun. And
Yeah.
like, I met this lady there that literally like changed my life, like completely. Um, and then like you said, going to meetups now, it's just like second nature. Like, oh, it's on Thursday. All right, know what I'm doing Thursday. Like
Yeah.
going from 0 to 1 can be like wicked, wicked tough.
Yeah.
But like once you get over that hurdle of like seeing it for the first time, then you're like, oh, this is actually like wicked fun. Like this is awesome.
Exactly.
And
And then it's so easy to stick in that routine after that point.
it is. Yeah.
Now you can fall out of it too. I'll give you an example of that. Like for me, it's like going to the gym, right?
Yep.
There are, extended periods of over the last 5 years I've been like working out regularly where, you're in that routine and you just go every day after work or whenever.
Yeah.
And it's just, you don't think about it and not going seems weird.
Yeah.
Like you'd
Yeah.
like, why would I, like you'd have to have a really good reason to care event every once in a while I did. And then like, for example, like, Christmas week would hit like the holiday and like your schedule gets all messed up and you don't go for 3 days. And then like getting back to that first Monday where you
Yeah.
go,
You're like,
it's like,
oh no.
you know, I guess the right thing would be to do is like keep going through that period of time, but whatever. But yeah, it's easy to lose like the momentum.
It is.
unless you're being driven by, whatever the fire is that drives you, whatever your want is, whatever your why is, whatever,
Yeah.
your goal is, or your values or your visions, or whatever you're into, whatever keeps
Yeah.
you going. um it's just sticking to that, and if you're driven by the right ones, and you have whatever it is, whether it be your vision or your value, as long as you have that,
Yeah.
then you're golden. I mean, that's what you need. So
Yeah, definitely. I know, I totally agree. Like sometimes like slipping out of habits, like it is definitely extremely tough to get back on sometimes. And like, you know, like you said, like, and it doesn't take much either. Like I feel like you have to kind of be careful, and just kind of watch out, like, oh, I didn't do this for a day, a couple days. Like, all right, like I gotta get back on this, and
yeah.
rebuild the habit again. And
And
it's
then,
tough.
yeah, and another thing, I want to touch on, I haven't even mentioned this yet, but are you familiar with, I believe it's a book, Extreme Ownership?
But
You heard
Jocko
of?
Willink,
So here's the thing. This is another book. I think it's a book that I've heard all about, and I know
I
I've
haven't,
never
yeah.
read
I
it.
haven't either.
Never read it, but I understand the concept because I've heard it described from other people before.
Yep.
And it's the idea of taking extreme ownership about everything that happens in your life, every good thing, every bad thing, taking ownership of the fact that you put yourself in that situation, you got yourself there, whether it was a direct result of an effort or an indirect result of a bunch of different efforts or whatever. If something doesn't go right, if you're working on a project and it goes downhill because something that anyone else would be like, that was out of my control, it wasn't my fault,
Yeah.
like you're trying to close a building and COVID-19 hits and now all of a sudden the bank backs out. Like you'd think, oh, how could that be my fault, right? And then if you basically just take ownership of everything that happens and think, okay, it's my fault because I didn't have a backup plan. That's why it's my fault. Or I didn't have four other lenders lined up, and if you take ownership for what you did or could have done differently, then all of a sudden you can use that to improve your life and your own behaviors. And it's all just going to snowball and make you a better, stronger, wiser, more capable person. And that's where the success is going to come from, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think I never really sat down and made a list of my values or what's important to me, but I feel like that's up there. Is just taking, it's like personal responsibility, taking responsibility for every piece of where you are, even if it's not your fault. Guess what? It is your fault. And if it's
Yeah.
not your fault, find what you could have done to make it your fault,
Yeah.
And I think that's huge. I think that's huge. And that, there's different types of people out there. And oftentimes it's very apparent when someone doesn't look at the world that way.
Yep.
And those are people I don't even like to be around because the energy they bring is just,
It's different.
not going to
Yeah.
help me in any way. It's just
Exactly.
negative. If you start looking at, why me? Like, why is the world this way? Why did this happen? Why are, this group of people or that, whatever, out to get me, or greedy or whatever it is,
Yeah.
even if they are, how do you overcome it?
Exactly.
That's your responsibility.
I love that, man. I haven't I'm the same way. I heard all about that book and like, that guy Jocko, and like I haven't read it yet.
It's
It's
like I've
definitely
already
on the
read it
list.
without having read it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, because you know what? I think it's something fundamental about values that people have. And for
Yeah.
some people, they hear that concept and they're like, wow, what a great way to think about things.
Yeah.
And it clicks. And now, they're like, okay, I've thought this in my life, or at least my head has worked this way forever. And so they hear the idea of it and they embrace it. And that's like you and me. We haven't read the book, but we know exactly what it's about. But then, same with the E-Myth. I haven't read the book, know what it's about. But
Exactly.
whatever. So.
Oh, that's awesome,
Yeah.
man. Oh my God. So Matt, if you don't mind, I have a couple questions for you that I wanted to ask you.
Okay. See if you
So
can stump me.
so one of my big ones is, how do you define wealth?
That's a good question. I would say that I'll probably give a roundabout answer, but wealth is both its simplest and most complex
Mm-hmm.
definitions, right? Wealth
Yeah.
is money, cash in the bank, cash in assets, whatever. That's wealth. But also wealth is having the resources and the things in your life, whether it be material or money or people or anything, having collected, you know, let's call them assets, even though it doesn't have to be a material asset. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be a rental property or a bar of gold. It
Yeah.
could be, the wealth that I have, with the people around me, or whether it be your faith um, or just having people that love you and care about you, or people that support you, or business relationships, or a dog that's your best friend. I mean, these things are all wealth, and
Yeah.
having a lot of that, whatever that is, that's good. We all want that. And any all of that combined, going out there, getting it, bringing it in, and holding it close to you, and caring about it, and loving it, and cherishing it,
Yeah.
that's wealth. That's wealth.
I love that so much, man. It really is. You know what I mean? Like it's like so simple, but like it's so real. You know what I mean? Like it's yeah.
Yeah. And then a lot of people, I would say, if you ask them, how would you define wealth, they think, okay, what can wealth do for you? And that's like a whole nother world. And yeah, it's complicated. What can wealth do for you is a lot, pretty much anything, right? If you have the right
Yeah.
kind of it. But it's a lot more. Being wealthy means a lot more than having a lot of cash in the bank. But it sure as
100%.
hell does mean having a lot of cash in the
Yeah.
bank. That's a big part of it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. Ooh, what is your best piece of advice to new investors that want to start and manage their rental portfolio?
Okay. So I would say, thinking about the beginner who's interested, let's say they have the fire, right?
Mhm.
Let's say that that's a given, because they're going to need that. And if they don't, it's hard to give it to them,
Yeah.
and it's not going to work out anyway. But let's say they have the fire that you have, or that I have, or that, most of these people have. My biggest advice would be, first of all, educate yourself, but don't overeducate yourself, or don't let educating yourself hold you back from taking steps, right?
Mhm.
So for me, listening to podcasts and reading books about real estate literally took the first 4 years of my real estate career, and it was useful.
Yeah.
But those first 3-4 years of my real estate career, that was reading books about real estate and listening to podcasts, probably would have been a lot more successful if I started then posting on Biggerpockets every day, getting my name out there, meeting people, making friends. Like, this was while I was in college. I never went to, I bet there was a real estate group or meetup or something at the university I went to. It was a big school. There's so many more steps you can take beyond that. Do read books, do listen to podcasts, or whatever way you want to learn, audiobook, news articles, websites, but also take other steps while you're at it.
Yeah. That's so true, man. Like I feel like a lot is in our control in terms of like, just absorbing that knowledge and like the amount of resources that we have, like Biggerpockets alone, like just being able to read like a bajillion blog posts that are on there and just interact with people, see what people are talking about.
Yeah.
And us, like even down to the super local level, like the particular market that you're looking in, to invest in, like particularly, like, like there's usually always people talking. And it's it blows my mind, like in today's day and age, man. Like there was a guy a while back I interviewed. His name was Jack Pinard. Shout out to Jack if you're watching this. But he got into real estate in 1987, I think.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about, kind of how it was then, like, and how, you know, he had to go to like the seminars, like the weekend seminars, like
Yeah.
different than the ones that we have now. um, but and he would come home with like, I forget if it was like tapes or something like that, like this big box of tapes, and like throw them in his car or something. And like, it'd be like learning about everything. But like he had to actually like go out and do that. And, like meeting brokers and meeting agents and, like I think about that all the time, like after talking to him, and it really is amazing. Kind of how things have shifted today. Like how literally like the phone in our pocket, depending on how you use it, like can totally change like everything. Like the amount of people on there, like, you can see deals on there, like,
Yeah.
it
How do
just
you use it too, right? Isn't that such a big
exactly.
question? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I've used it the good ways and the toxic ways, right?
Yeah.
I've caught myself zoning into, Instagram, just like wasting time. I've also done a lot
It
of really
happens.
useful stuff on my
Yeah.
phone.
Yep.
I think the message that you sent me where we first got introduced to each other was on a Biggerpockets, which I probably read on my phone.
Yep.
Even though their app is terrible.
Yeah.
Um,
These guys.
but but yeah, no, I mean, like, how do you use your phone and is a big thing, and taking advantage of the internet. I mean, I
Yeah.
feel like you and I, like, we're the first generation who, through pretty much our entire educational years, and now going into our entire professional adult lives,
Yep.
are gonna have Wikipedia
Yeah.
and like
Exactly.
the internet and like all of those technical questions that you could ever have. The answer is on your fingertips. I mean, think
Yep.
about, you know, our parents' generation, they had to go to the library,
Exactly.
and only the nerds did that, right?
Yeah.
So the dumb kid was cool,
Exactly.
because he wasn't in the library. He was, hanging out with his buddies. But um nowadays you can have both,
Exactly. Yep.
and so you don't have to go to the library or go meet an expert at the local university to learn, whatever it is. If you have a question in your head, I mean, this is a practice I've done my entire life, all the time. Like, I'll think of something, whatever it may be, like, why are there hurricanes? And
Yeah. Exactly.
all of a sudden I'm on the internet googling this. Like, I just this curiosity in my head just works that way.
Yeah.
And that's a way to be smart. That's a way to grow your brain, and being curious about
Yep.
whatever it is. That's probably what led me into real estate. I was
Same.
curious
Yeah.
about investing. I listened to 6 different podcasts. The one that was most interesting would happen to be Biggerpockets. The other one of them was about probably stock options, and the other was this and that. And
Yeah.
I was like, only in of all of these different investing strategies, the only one where I can see in my head a very clear path to success that might have hurdles and stuff, but it's not cloudy, was
Yeah.
real
Yeah.
estate.
Yep.
How do I get to be very, very wealthy with the stock market? I'm sure there's a way. But for me, that road was cloudy,
Exactly.
foggy. I couldn't see down it. I thought, okay, so here's some of the clear right things and wrong things and safe things and risky things to do. But I didn't see, okay, I couldn't construct in my head, this is a step I need to take, and then this one, and then this one, in order to, achieve what I want to achieve.
Yeah.
For some reason, there was just that other road, real estate, was just sunny. And I just saw down it and was like, this is gold. I need to go this way. And I went down and I, ran full speed.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing that happened to so many of us, right?
Exactly. I really like the way you worded that too, with like the stocks and stuff. Because literally, like the first thing that I got into, like it was the same kind of thing. Literally, like investing to me, like everything started from a Google search,
Mhm.
which was, what is investing? Because I was like bored
Yeah.
as hell on my computer one day,
Yeah.
and like that led into stocks. And I totally see what you're saying, because like one of the first couple books that I read was The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham.
Yeah.
Basically like this textbook of like, growth and value investing and stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, like it's, and I mean, that's like a lot of knowledge, you know what I mean? Like, and I feel like there's not, I mean, obviously, like generally speaking, like, I'm a lot more real estate focused now than stocks at this point, but like I feel like there's a lot less like control. I mean, obviously with real estate, like, there's a clear like path, like very, very generally speaking, of like how to get an offer or how to get pre-approved to how to close that property. And it's
Yeah.
been done like millions and millions of times, by like
Yeah.
people all around us. Like
Yeah. It's like
it's
this,
real.
it's the same 6 strategies
Yeah.
that in the 10 billion podcasts and books and everything where people described how to get deals in real estate.
Yep.
It's the same 6.
Exactly.
I just made up 6, but it's about that many strategies,
Yeah.
direct mail,
Yep.
door knocking, driving for dollars, talk to an agents and brokers, talk to
Exactly.
friends in your network.
Yep.
There's no like new one that like somebody knows.
Yep.
And if you pay their $4,000 seminar, then you find out the secret. And sure enough, what is
Yep.
it? Door knocking, driving for dollars, cold calling, whatever. It's the
Exactly.
same ones, but yeah. So hey, so going off on a tangent a little bit, but one thing I wanted to bring up on this podcast was
Yep.
so I think a big part of real estate investing is also having good personal finance system, right?
Mhm.
And so I think it's important for everyone to develop their own system.
Yep.
But there's a key thing in mind I've never heard of anyone else doing exactly the same way.
Yeah.
That I'd like to share. And so what this is it's basically how I get a paycheck every month from work, and
Yep.
occasionally I come into other money, whether it be from an investment or whatever, a
Yeah.
gift,
Yeah.
who knows what. But anyway, so when this money comes in, so I have a budget. Obviously, you should have a budget. I don't let the budget rule me. I don't split it up into envelopes and walk around with dollar
Yeah.
bills. But first off, a portion of that money, it just comes into my checking account, right? A portion of that is the amount that I save, right?
Yep.
So far, very regular. Everyone does it like this. And so, for me, it's a certain amount. It's about a certain percentage, whatever, of my monthly income.
Yeah.
I just save, and by save, it's literally a bank transfer from my checking account into my savings account.
Yeah.
That's the money I save.
Yep.
Right. So far, very simple. Probably done the same way by a ton of people. But I think there's a degree of like separation between those two accounts that is, for me, like very intense, right? And so there's no commingling of money going between the checking and the save. So I'll give you an example. So first of all, the amount that I'm saving is a little bit ambitious. So there isn't like extra money in this checking account. That's the money I have to live off of.
Yep.
And I better hope I don't need more, because it sure as hell is not. I'll go live homeless under a bridge before I take that money out of my savings account just to spend.
Yeah.
But obviously I don't want to live homeless under a bridge. And so I'll give you an example. There was one point where I needed to buy a truck, right? Yep. I could have sold my car and got a beater truck, and my car wasn't worth very much money, but I wanted a truck because I was buying these rental properties. And I knew I was going to be self-managing them. And I knew if I didn't have a truck, I was going to end up spending a lot of money on U-Haul or whatever, that rental company, Home Depot trucks. So I knew I needed a truck, but I didn't have funds.
Yeah, yeah.
So this is what initiated it, and I've done this a couple of times before. I actually wrote a loan from my investment accounts into my checking account. I think it was like $8,000 I needed for the truck. Just to get like a decent, reliable, but nothing fancy. Wrote a loan, sure as hell charging 8% interest, broke it down into a payment that was affordable to fit within my car budget, which I already had.
Yeah.
And then I stuck to that. And so I was paying my savings account back over the course of, a 2-3 year period. Mm-hmm. A monthly payment that was just an amortization that was I didn't even do it by hand. I just pulled up an online amortization calculator. Figured out I had to pay, I think it was like $250 a month for so long. And then I would pay back the truck. And so I had a loan on my truck. I had truck payments, but I was paying myself. Yeah. And I was paying myself with an ambitious interest rate, 8%. That's more than most people would pay if you're paying 8% on a car loan, get a new car loan. But for me, it worked, and I didn't mind doing it. I enjoyed, paying that payment every month. But there's just a huge segregation there, and there's no intermingling. And I think just having that be such a fundamental concept of, the one rule of my, personal finance stream that allowed me to to come together with enough savings where I was able to put that $100,000 into, this deal.
Yeah.
And having that $100,000 helped me in a lot of ways. I could have done it without it, but it was a huge fundamental piece of it. And it didn't come from magic. It wasn't all handed to me. I was running a cell phone repair business in college. That's how I made money in college. It was my job. I've always been entrepreneurial. I was going out fixing phones for, sorority girls.
Yeah.
Who break their phones a lot. And then, and before that, I was in high school, and I, got my first car when I was just before I got my driver's license, and got spent hours on Craigslist finding the best deal.
You're right.
Bought it, sold it for more. And I was basically just flipping my daily driver. Not that often, but I did it really carefully. And I had my car on the market for like 8 months, just waiting for someone to bite for too much money. And I was buying cars that had a little bit of character and interesting. This is just all like, the way I was thinking was all about like, how do I profit from a daily necessity?
Yeah.
And it's those different things that snowballed into me being in a decent personal financial situation in order to start in real estate when I found that thing later on that was important to me. So kind of off on a tangent, but I saw that you said personal finance in your podcast description, and I was like, okay, I can touch on this because I think that's huge and super important for people to do. So
yeah, I think that's extremely interesting, man. That's really cool. I haven't really heard of something like that before.
And that's just my system. There's a one that they talk about a lot, real estate investors talk about, I think it's called the infinite banking concept. Have you heard of this?
Is that with life insurance policies?
With the life insurance policy. So that's a little different, but it has similarities in that you're loaning yourself money. You're banking for yourself. The infinite banking concept, for those who haven't heard of it, is, and I don't know all the details about it, but basically you get a whole life insurance policy with a cash value. You contribute money to it. It earns, I believe they're called dividends, instead of interest, but it grows on its own a little bit. But the thing is you can borrow against that money at any time for no reason. You don't need to. You can do whatever with it. You just take out cash. Even when you borrow against it, you're not taking it out. You're just borrowing against it. So it's still earning interest. You borrow against it at pretty low interest rates because there's collateral, so you can get low rates on it. And then you take that money at your low interest rate, go invest it in a property at a high interest rate, and you're basically banking for yourself with your own assets.
Yeah.
And it's similar to what I was doing, but I'm doing it with what's a lot less of a commitment, which is a checking and a savings account, as opposed to whole life, which I don't know enough about to give anyone advice or tell anyone if that's right for them or not. But a lot of people swear by it, and maybe someday I'll do that. I don't know enough about it yet, and I don't think it's the right time for me. But the idea of banking for yourself, it's easy. Anyone can do it. You don't need a whole life insurance policy to do it.
The principle really is insane, and it's funny you say that too, because I was in one of those for a while. It was with this company called Paradigm Life, and there was so actually earlier in the podcast I was talking about like the first meetup that I went to, and like there was like this very first woman, her name was Lisa, and like she totally changed my life and everything, and she first introduced me to that, and like it totally blew my socks off. But
to the whole life and the infinite banking concept.
Yeah. So I was in it for a while, but like I couldn't I wasn't sure if it was like for me, I guess, or like the best use for my capital. And I just
feel about it.
like some people, it's like it seems like it's like literally half divided some people like absolutely swear by it, like it's like the best thing in the world. And some people are like, oh no, it's a scam. Like you can grow your money, a lot more efficiently in other places. Like it's ridiculous. And I don't know, like I definitely don't want to just like leave it. Like I'd love to revisit it in the future,
Yeah.
but
Well, I think there's
I don't know.
there's two things that are, I think, critical to that strategy that make it attractive.
Yeah.
Because I think for your average person, W-2 worker with a 401k and some savings, so maybe
Yeah.
some stocks, right? Your average person. There's two huge advantages that they don't see. One, the whole thing is based on borrowing against it and investing in stuff with high returns.
Yeah.
If you're not doing that, or you're just borrowing against it for like stock market or something,
Yeah.
it doesn't work the same, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the other aspect of it is it's a life insurance policy. You got to, once you have beneficiaries that you want to, be on that policy, because like you have family, you have kids, you have, whoever that might need money when you pass, that's another added value. I think if you bring both of those into play, now it starts to make a lot of sense. So that's how I feel about it. Someday when I have kids, have, wife and family or whatever, or at least that's close and around the corner, I might reconsider that strategy. And who knows, maybe I'll be all gung-ho about infinite banking, 10 years from 5 years from now, whenever it may be. So.
Yeah, it really is. It's extremely interesting. I just like, so for like the policy that I had, it was like, I think $500 a month between like two things. And at this time I was like, just really starting to kind of like save up the money for my first down payment, so it was like a really small amount. And like that money was making like a significant impact on like me saving up for that. And I was just trying to think of like what's more practical for what I want like right now. And I don't know, I just like, like I was in it for a while and I was like, oh, this is really cool, like looking at the illustration and stuff. But I was like, well, if I just hold on to that and then, get my house like a lot sooner, like right now, like is that more efficient than like
It
doing
seems
that?
like
And just, I don't know.
seems like the smart thing for someone in your position right now would be, save the money that you have in cash, have it ready to go, because you know that you want to buy and close a deal as soon as you can find one.
Yep.
And you need to have that cash ready. When I started getting serious about investing in real estate, once I had this property under contract, I sold all my assets, all of them.
Oh, really? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I lost out on some pretty good booms and some pretty good stocks too. I sold like Apple at the worst time possible, but I don't regret making that decision at all, because
of course,
not having done that, God forbid the market went the other way, I needed that money. I had a very specific purpose for that money. I needed it in, its most liquid, stable form, like right now in the short term, and that was cash. So that's what I did. I sold all my assets at that point. It was all in. So
I know. I totally agree.
So it seems like for you, maybe, or for me right now, we need all the cash we can because we're trying to buy deals.
Exactly.
And maybe it's not the right time for putting our money into whole life insurance.
Yeah. But it is there, like you said, if we decide to reconsider or like, things change, or it's always going to be there, like.
So did you say you had a policy for a short while?
I did. I had one
got one and then you got out.
I want to say like almost a year, maybe something like that.
And are you able to get out of it?
I was.
Is there penalties?
I didn't recover the full amount that I put in. I might have lost like a couple grand, but I just, at that point, I was like, I'm willing to pay that penalty, to just kind of get out of this and hold on to things bigger picture right now. Like, so I did lose out a little bit on it. But
but it's not like you lost half or anything ridiculous.
Exactly. Yeah. And I mean, like, there wasn't much in it to begin with, bigger picture, like, but yeah, I mean, definitely something to revisit in the future. Just like
I'm
you
in
said.
I'm in a similar situation with like retirement savings, right? So the conventional knowledge, everyone said, invest put your money in a 401k, 401k for whatever, it's like the conventional right thing to do.
Yeah.
And I've made the decision for myself that right now that's not the best use for my money.
Yep.
The plan that I have, and I have high confidence I'll achieve and haven't given up on yet, doesn't require a 401k for me to do fine in my retirement. Okay.
Yep.
The way I'm thinking right now, I'll have plenty of assets that cash flow plenty at that time. I'll have all the passive income I need and I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Now, that might change down the road. It might come back to bite me in the ass. You never know. Right. And maybe someday I'll be wishing that my 25-year-old self wasn't, as foolish, but I stand by my decision. I think I did the right thing for me. So I wouldn't recommend it for the vast majority of people who aren't in the same position as me, with the same interests and goals and everything. But for me, even if I contributed the maximum allowed or whatever to the 401k up until it won't be anything compared to where I want to be. So
yeah, I totally agree, man. That's a decision that you have to make for yourself, and like your best interest, and like really just sit down and like just think about like, how do I get what I want right now, as best as I can to be able to put me in that position. And sometimes it is tough, especially when it comes to putting your money into different investments, like, yeah, retirement's great, for like down the line, but like, if we're trying to buy deals right now, should I like maybe cut that in half or like, and just kind of like play around with it, and just put yourself in that best situation.
Yeah. No, that's totally right. It's all about, well, you got to know your own situation, and everyone's in a different place. Like, and by your own situation, I mean both like right where you are financially and everything in your life right now.
Yep.
And also where you're planning on going and how committed you are to getting there.
Yeah.
Right. And so I know where I am now, where I'm going, where I'm trying to go, and how committed I am to getting there. For me, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
But like I said, I wouldn't recommend it for most people. If anyone in my close circle outside the tight investing network that I have, was like, should I have a 401k? I'd be like, hell yeah, you better.
Probably.
Contribute as much as you can, because if the alternative for you is buying, whatever your hobby is, spending it on golf, maybe you shouldn't spend it all on golf. But,
exactly. You're right. I feel like that's a really big point, to have that self-awareness, to really dig into like, what your vision looks like, whether you're like an investor or, you're just, kind of enjoying life and stuff, and like, what's that goal? Like, do you actually want to, use that capital to build assets and do things a lot differently and be a lot more active? Or are you more of, like a passive, just kind of let it grow long term and then be able to use it, come retirement or whatever? Because
yeah, exactly. Yeah. So like right now, for me, it's all my savings goes into cash, sits in a bank account, and it's ready. And it's ready to close the deal.
Ready to go. Yeah.
Unless you're searching for that deal or planning on searching for that deal, 100% in the next however long, putting all your money in cash, having it ready for nothing is probably not the best strategy, right? I mean, go buy yourself a home for the long term, right? If you're like that age where you're thinking about it, it's never a bad, I would say it's never a bad time, or at least it's not right now a bad time to buy yourself a home for the long term. Okay. It might be a bad time to buy a home for like a short while if you're planning on moving in a year.
Yeah.
Because you might not be able to.
Yep.
But, I bet everything that real estate's going to be a fine place some point in the next 20 years. It's going to be higher than it is right now at some point. So buy a home for 20 years. And when it's higher, sell. If it's way down, don't, or whatever. But
exactly. Even like to just look at like the long-term trend of markets, or even like just the stock market alone, like over the long term, like I mean, obviously, what is it? Like past performance isn't indicative of future performance, I think.
Yeah.
But like if you look at like the trend from, go back like 100 years or something crazy like that and look at like the S&P 500 over time, it's going up, like
Over time, it's going up. And if that wasn't the case, it'd be a lot bigger problem no matter
yeah,
what you do. You're
we have bigger
hurting.
problems.
But that's true. If it was in a perpetual downfall,
Yep,
so is the country.
exactly.
So is our lives as we know it.
Yeah,
So is everybody else. Who cares if you lost all your money at that point? And
yep,
hopefully that doesn't happen. I mean, this is like end of the world situation. COVID hit and we survived it okay. So I think we could do anything at this
we're
point.
good.
But
Yeah.
no, I mean that wasn't anything compared to history. But yeah, I mean,
I agree with you, man.
barring the end of the world, I mean,
Yeah,
don't plan for it. I mean,
exactly.
yeah, there's no point in planning for the end of the world.
Yeah.
Plan for the short-term recession. Plan for or prepare for, a serious drop in real estate values in a year. It's not preventing me from buying assets because I'm not buying any assets right now that I'm planning to sell in a year.
Exactly.
So,
yeah.
I'm not afraid to buy property thinking that even if it does go down in a year or 2 years or 5 years from now, it's half what it is now. Who cares? If I go into bankruptcy, it happens. I mean, I'm going to do everything I possibly can to make sure it doesn't happen.
Exactly. And I mean, like you said, like talking about like some of the investors who were buying like right after, like the 2008, 2009 recession and where they are now. If you ride the wave for long enough, like, I mean, chances are it could be worth your while,
Yeah.
very worth your while.
Yeah. Exactly.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Get in it for the long term. I mean, my grandfather was a stockbroker, right? And he did very well. Not even as much as a stockbroker as he did in his own investments. And he had a very clear cut strategy, totally different from mine.
Yep.
And he had no interest in real estate, but it was a long-term buy and hold strategy of good, solid stocks that met a certain criteria that he believed in. And he did very well. And he lived a very humble life, and he could have lived a very impressive life. He chose not to, but nonetheless, like he had a plan. He followed it. He followed it diligently for years and years and years. He did very well. My father followed in his tracks and tried to do, the same sort of thing and followed in his strategy. And it's having some strategy that you're doing and believe in that, that's huge, whatever it may be.
Exactly.
Even if
man.
it's Dogecoin. It's got to know Dogecoin better than anybody else. As long as you can pinpoint exactly what makes Dogecoin go up and down.
Yeah.
Which actually might not
Does anybody
be
know that?
hard. I think it's just Elon Musk.
It's a tweet from Elon Musk, man.
Yeah. He's got to find some way to get in his Twitter account, buy some Dogecoin, say the right thing.
That's a whole nother conversation, man. That drives me crazy, but that's a whole nother conversation.
Anyway.
Oh man.
So that's not welcome on our podcast. Dogecoin strategies.
I'm definitely
rightfully
open to
so.
It. Yeah. Definitely open to it as an asset. I think it's interesting, but definitely not my cup of tea. Personally. But I don't know. People are making money on it. I don't know.
That road wasn't sunny. That one was foggy.
Yeah,
how to
exactly.
Get wealthy. Is there a clear-cut strategy to definitely do well in crypto? I heard of one once. I didn't fully grasp it, but it was the concept of it was a lending business, like a bank that lent against crypto. But when it lent against the crypto, it would also in some way short the same amount of crypto in such a way where the two
it was like fluctuate.
It was like hedge against each other.
Oh,
and
okay.
Somehow it made it stable. So no matter what happened with the price, it was just collateral. And then it was the interest on the lending that made the money. or something. Like,
Yeah,
there's ways.
there is.
There's ways. Following Elon Musk tweets might be it. I don't know.
That's awesome, man. I got one more question for you, Matt. And
Okay.
we talked about it a little bit already. It's, do you read? And what is your favorite business, investing, or real estate book that you would recommend to anyone if you
Sure.
had to pick one?
Yeah. So it depends on the person's situation, right? But
Yep.
first of all, I do read. I listen to a hell of a lot more podcasts than I do read.
Yeah.
I do enjoy reading. I don't do it a ton, but there's a
Mhm.
few books I have a bookshelf and it's growing. I like to buy the books so I can go back to them
Same.
and just remember that I read them. It's like I don't know. I just enjoy collecting the books that I've read. But
Right.
anyway, for the person first interested in money, it doesn't know a ton yet, read Rich Dad Poor Dad if you haven't. That was the most fundamental book I've ever read that made the most impact on me.
Yep.
And you know what? It really didn't tell me anything I didn't already know. But it's not like you learn material in that book. I recommended in college to a friend, read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And this friend read it or started to read it and was like, yeah, there wasn't really anything I didn't already know. Right. And
Bro.
he goes, I didn't really like it. And I go, yeah, same here. Like, there wasn't anything I didn't already know in it either.
Yeah.
But this is the way I'd been thinking or wanting to think, or it was churning in my head. And I was like, when I read that book, I realized, holy crap, this is a real thing. Someone else is thinking about it. They've thought it through way harder than I have. And they're saying, this is what everyone's doing. You should do it.
Yep.
And that's why it resonated with me. And it gave me all the confidence and fire and everything in order to start running faster down this real estate road, to go with the analogy.
Yeah.
But for people who are already interested in real estate, maybe thinking about getting into their first property, looking for their first property, trying to learn some more of the fundamental technical stuff. A few books that are huge. I like Dave Lindahl. He wrote one called Multifamily Millions,
Mhm.
and another one called Emerging Markets and something Emerging Markets.
Yep.
There's the big letters on the cover. And both of those are really good. They'll teach you, the Emerging Markets will teach you about how markets work and kind of some of the fundamentals of real estate, how it works within a market. And Multifamily Millions will tell you some of the technical stuff about being an asset manager or property manager, or managing property managers and closing deals and finding deals, and some about how the finances work. Both of those really good for technical information. And then the other book that was super fundamental and helpful it's called Commercial Mortgages 101. If you're interested in getting into commercial, you want to buy 5, 6, 7, 8 unit. The loans work totally different than your FHA or your, home buyer's loan.
Mhm.
And there's it basically talks about how those mortgages work, what are the interests and the desires of the different, types of lenders in that area. And most importantly, there's a section on how to build a loan request package. And that loan request package, I should have brought it up when I was going through the story earlier, was hugely fundamental in me demonstrating competency to the lender. It's actually very difficult for people to get, especially without an experienced partner, a commercial lender to take a leap of faith with you. And this loan request package that I wrote was a 30-something page, 40-page document that followed pretty much exactly the way they explained.
Yeah.
It had an executive summary. It had all of the big metrics that they care about. And knowing what the metrics are, talk to people in your market who are doing this, because they'll tell you right now they want, 75% loan to value, 1.3 or debt service coverage ratio. They'll give you all the metrics. And first of all, make sure your numbers meet those, because if they don't, they won't even talk to you. Those are rules that they have to follow. And unless you're like a super multi-time, trusted worker that can call in a favor at the president at the bank, they won't make exceptions to those rules. So know what they are before you ask for money. And then do this loan request package and write it up just the way it's in the book. Talk about the business, show the pro forma income statement and all the metrics that they want to see, show the area, Talk about your team, have the section in there with your team. Think about anyone that you've reached out in your network, whether it be the contractor that you know, or, your uncle who's a CPA who didn't even know he was on your team. Put him in there and talk about, these are the people I have, and these people will support me and back me up as I need it. And, John Bombachi's name was on that team. They don't have to be partners. They don't have to be invested in the deal to be on your team. And take time, make it look pretty, make the night, add a table of contents, numbers at the bottom, a little letter from yourself at the beginning, do a nice job with it. And you'll hand this to your lender. You'll send it to them in a PDF or whatever, and they'll see it and they'll go, wow, this person knows real estate. They're talking about cap rates, NOI. They know all their stuff. This is an experienced person, whether they've done a deal before or not.
Yeah.
That's huge. So Commercial Mortgages 101. That was the longest answer to what's your favorite book ever, but
that's wicked valuable, man. That's crazy.
Yeah. Big one. God. I know a lot of people want to get into commercial for the first time.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, I like to speak to those people because that's what I did. I went right into commercial. I didn't house hack first. I house hacked after. And I made it work. So,
I mean, even with that, man, like that, like the loan, what was it called again? Like the loan
package? Request package. Yeah.
Loan request package.
Yeah.
So even like, do you think you could make like a version of that, like just for like resident, like a lot smaller deals? Like if you found something and wanted to partner and, just kind of made like a little package on like, this is who I am. This is who like our team is.
So I also made and it followed kind of a very similar template. I made a investor package.
Yeah.
When I finally brought this specific deal to the people I raised money from, after they had already mentioned that they were interested in maybe investing someday if I found the right deal. When I brought it to them, I gave a very similar document, had a lot of the same sections that were cut and paste. Some stuff that was different. It was tailored to them as investors.
Yeah.
But it was a document. It was well organized with table of contents and everything, so you could get to the right section. You didn't have to read it all. It wasn't overly, it wasn't like 1,000 pages. It was 20 pages, which is reasonable.
Yeah.
Maybe 30. And that was huge too. Yeah, it's demonstrating competency and demonstrating a professional attitude, and how this is not some idea that you just had that you want to try to do. Like, this is real and it's happening. Do you want to be a part of it? That's the attitude that you have to, that's the truth.
Yeah.
And it's the attitude that you have to demonstrate, because if you seem wishy-washy, nobody's going to trust you with, even 10 grand of their money. Never mind 135 or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I'm definitely going to look into that, man. That's extremely interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Maybe I could send it to you if you were interested in it. I could just send you.
Sure. Yeah.
Take a look at it. I don't know. Maybe I could post it out there. I'll have to look at it and see if it's shareable publicly, or edit it, and then maybe we could work something out. But we'll see.
Yeah, I'll definitely do some research regardless. Like it sounds wicked cool. Like I feel like I heard like something about that kind of thing on like a podcast a long time ago, but like it didn't resonate. And like just being able to, like you did, have those people that like might be interested in partnering, depending on if you find the right deal, and then be able to have like, some concrete stuff like, hey, this is what I got. Like, what do you think about
handing out well thought out material is interesting. Like, for example, if you're looking for commercial deals, a lot of commercial deals are traded through brokers, commercial brokers. And a lot of them don't make their way to LoopNet or the MLS or anything. So maybe for someone who's in that position looking for those deals, make a brochure that's, one page or whatever, that has you, your team, your experience, if you have any, how you're going to make up for that gap if you don't. Demonstrates that you can close something and what you can close and how you're going to do it, and just paint yourself in a good light. And then send it to that broker and say, hey, this is me. If you want to jump on a call, I'd love to chat. If you have any good deals, if they meet my criteria, I'm a serious buyer, take a look. And, it's professional. And
that's amazing, man.
Maybe it'll work out.
That's crazy.
You don't get on, you probably won't get on their primary list, but you get on their secondary list if you do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I love that, man. That honestly like just lit up a light bulb in my head. I'm like, I
Make
gotta go look
material.
into that kind of thing. That's awesome.
Make material, and as much as public material like you're doing, it's huge. It helps in a different way, so they're both important. What you're doing is something that I haven't been doing enough, and part of me being here is me wanting to improve this side is increase my public appearance within real estate, post more on Biggerpockets, show up on podcasts. I'm giving a presentation at the Pints and Properties meetup next month.
Nice.
Just getting out there, it's important. And then along with that, and separately but equally as important, is personalized material for those stakeholders in your business, whether it be your lender, your partner, your future partner, your current investors that you want to give them an update on the performance of the partnership, or some broker that you want to reach out to and try to hope that he sends you a good deal someday, whatever it may be.
That's crazy, man.
No one's gonna get a brochure from you and be like, I can't believe they sent me the,
be like offended.
Worst case, they don't read it. Worst case, they open it and don't read it, or send it out.
See, and that's interesting too, because like that could be, making a shift from like doing lead gen from like, sellers of those kind of buildings to lead gen of, commercial brokers. And then, just rifling off that, connecting with as many as possible and, sending them like that, that wicked professional stuff that you have.
Heck, what if you actually printed a brochure? I'm just thinking of this now. You actually print a brochure, right? And then you go to the meetup or wherever, and everyone else is handing out their business cards, which just has their name and a phone number, which everybody there has a name and a phone number. That's not going to make it stand out. And just be like, oh yeah, this is me. This is what I'm trying to do. This is why I'm here.
That's genius.
Right?
That's a wicked good idea.
I'm going to have to show up at the next meetup with brochures.
Yeah, man, legit.
Right? And it probably doesn't cost all that much more money than printing business cards. I mean, business cards are super cheap these days, but
no, but you're right.
Just
I feel
printing.
Like it's much bigger than that. Yeah, like even like, just see make like a really small, like, description about you, throw like a picture of you or like, your building or something. Like, that
everyone's gonna remember your name at least.
Yeah, it's gonna take up.
Oh, that's that kid who gave me a brochure. What a loser. No, they're not gonna do that. But it's your worst case.
It takes up more room in your pocket than a business card. So, people are gonna be looking.
Ends up getting crumpled up and thrown in the trash. But who cares? So do all the business cards I get.
Exactly.
You type them in my phone if they're worth it, and then they get tossed.
Yep. Exactly.
Someday I'll get a Rolodex, but
oh, that's great, man. Anyway. I could talk to you for hours, Matt. Thank you very, very, very much for coming on here, man. It was an honor.
For sure. What are we like 2 hours in almost?
Yeah, like almost 2.5 hours.
Getting up there and like Joe Rogan length, Let's go 3:45. Come on. No, I'm just kidding. I've had enough. It's Friday.
It is. Happy Friday.
Yeah, for us, it's Friday. Maybe not everybody listening, but enjoy your weekend.
Yeah, you too. Oh, where on social media can you be found or content?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm trying to get a more active presence within real estate on social media.
Yep.
But you can definitely follow me. My most active on social media would be Instagram. You can reach me at Matthew Davis P on Instagram. And then also you could always just shoot me a text. I'm not afraid to give out my number. It's 978-677-8366. Literally anyone here, if I just shoot me a text, I heard you on the podcast. I have a question about closing your first commercial deal or whatever it may be. I'd love to hear from you. It'd be, highlight of my day. I love when people reach out. So
100%, man. Guys, reach out to Matt. He's absolutely incredible and just an absolutely insane person.
Thanks, Kyle.
Alrighty. But yeah, thank you again so much, man. All right, guys, that concludes our Creating Wealth podcast episode for today. I want to thank every single person that has listened this far. It really means a lot to know that people can learn from me and with me as we build wealth together. Hopefully you can take home at least one thing from this podcast that will improve your life just a little bit. If you could, please check me out on social. That's at Kyle Curtin Real Estate on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm on Biggerpockets. Until next time, let's build together.